Ron is a health and fitness expert, and he comes from Manitoba. He was raised in Lethbridge and graduated from University of Lethbridge with a degree in economics. He makes his residence here in Calgary, but he does often go down to Las Vegas, I believe, and parts south. He's had a career as a business turnaround consultant and working out of Chicago, and travels extensively well over North America during the last 15 years. Exercising while work on the road as a road warrior is often difficult, but he went to local gyms to lift weights and start running. And what he's going to do is share some of those experiences with you tonight. And so I'd ask you to please welcome Ron Lafournier. Ron.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me, and thank you for coming. Frank told me there was going to be 50-some people here, but I see the most important people are here anyway. Is that better? Usually I've been called a loudmouth before. I'm not asked to turn up the mic very often. We're going to talk about a very serious subject tonight. So I want to set the tone by showing you a knee flexibility routine. Anybody here have bad knees? Bad hips? Okay, I want you guys to pay particular attention to this, and everybody should pay attention to it, because I don't want you to have problems with this going forward. And I want you to particularly watch the format, or the form that the person is using as he runs through this routine. Every time you've gone to an exercise class or watched the video, I'm sure you've had people tell you it's form that's important. It's not how many times you do an exercise, it's the form that's important. So I'm just going to put the mic in front of this, and I want you to watch closely, and then we'll have, maybe some of you will want to do this a little later. His head doesn't move. Yeah. Anybody want to get up and try that? I think it's an awesome routine. I'm going to talk to you for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'm going to show you a couple of things and get you to try a couple of items as well. I'm going to tell you something that everybody should know, but very few people do know. If you make use of what I tell you, you have an opportunity to improve the quality of your life for the rest of your life, starting now. If you don't use what I'm going to tell you, then you run the risk of giving up that opportunity. 2 months ago, June 13th, you had Dr. Nicole Kulis-Reed here talking about exercise and cancer. I watched quite a few of the videos that are on your website, and these two really jumped out at me. And 2 items from Dr. Nicole Reed's talk really struck me, and so I wrote them down. Exercise is your best tool against fatigue. Well, as we get older, I hear more and more people say that I'm just too tired to do this. I can't work out. I don't have the energy. And yet, here she is as a professional saying to you that exercise is your best tool to combat it. And I've had personal experience recently that supports that. The second comment struck me even a little bit more so, where she said, you are more likely to die from heart disease than your cancer. I wasn't aware of that, and that struck me. So I wanted to write that down because on July 11th, you had Dr. Linda Carlson here talking about mindfulness. And the first time I came across the subject of mindfulness was many years ago. I don't remember exactly when or where, but it was put to me as be present in the moment. And that's grown into a lot more material. But as we get older, we have to blend a lot of these things together. So what I'm going to do tonight is kind of merge these two and give you some practical application. How many people here are over 60? How many people over 65? Over 70? 75? Wow. That's a good mix. Okay. When I retired from traveling all over North America, I wanted to do something that I was really passionate about and that I thought would help a lot of people my age and older and around my age. And I started coming up with a business concept, and I called it Boomer's Online Fitness Club. I wanted to be able to give people a chance to exercise or work out at home by somebody that's in their same age group, not having to deal with a 30-year-old trainer at a gym. So I started with this concept here, the aging curve. Now, the black arrows that begin on the left and increase and then decline on the right is an average normal life curve. Now, you see it starts below the dependency threshold at birth because we simply can't look after ourselves when we're that young. You notice on the right-hand side, it goes below the dependency curve prior to death. No, not everybody goes below the dependency curve. Some die before they get there. That's my goal. We acquire functional abilities early in life to look after ourselves, and then we start to lose them. Primary aging is simply the number of years you've been here on this earth. Secondary aging is the accumulated effects of your environment, diseases, accidents, and injuries on your life. My goal is to raise that black line to the red dashed line. That's where my aging curve is going to be and has been. I've been fairly successful with it so far. The comment in red at the bottom, if your lifestyle does not control your body, then your body will control your lifestyle. I know many, many people who, as they get older, think, well, yeah, my midsection's getting a little bigger. I guess that's part of aging. It's part of getting older. Yeah, I'm a little sick once in a while, more than I was, so I guess that's part of aging too. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not part of aging. Dr. William Evans, in his book, Biomarkers, the 10 Keys to Prolonging Longevity. Now, there's only 5 on the screen. I've covered 5 up because I've been told we're kind of limited with time here. So we're going to talk about these, and this is how the secondary impacts of aging impact our lives. Number 1, loss of muscle mass. Number 2, loss of strength, slowing of metabolic rate, increase in body fat, and decrease in aerobic capacity. These are like dominoes. When the first one happens, the rest just seem to follow right along. Now think about that for a moment. We lose muscle mass. Why do we lose muscle mass? Anybody? Yes? We don't do anything. That's the nature of it. It's not because we're getting older, it's because we don't get off our butts. Now, if we lose muscle mass, we're not as strong. So number 2, loss of strength. If you think about the two of these things, as we lose muscle mass, we change the percentage of our body fat, so our metabolic system changes, it slows down. And our metabolic system, as I'm sure most of you know, is simply a collection of all the physiological functions that happen in our bodies, whether we're just sitting, watching TV, sleeping, all of that. If our body fat increases as percentage, muscle, of course, is active tissue, it needs more nutrients. Fat doesn't, it just kind of sits there. Decrease in aerobic capacity. Well, what's aerobic capacity? We have to have the ability to inhale large amounts of oxygen for our heart. Our heart has to pump it forcefully, and our vascular system has to be able to deliver the oxygenated blood with all its nutrients efficiently throughout our body. If these things are preventable, or if we can delay them by kind of pushing up on that aging curve, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm 70, so there's quite a few people here older than I am. But I work pretty hard at this, and I've been doing this for quite some time, and I want to continue doing it. Nutrition is part of fitness. Exercise is part of fitness. Which one's most important? Anybody? Who said both? I agree, both. For years, we've been told, and indeed I used to believe as well, that nutrition was maybe 20%, maybe 30%. And now all of the experts are saying they're both 50-50. We need to do both because we can't do the exercise if we don't have the right nutrition for our body. I'm doing some work with Dr. John Berardi. Anybody read any of his books? John Berardi is president of Precision Nutrition, which is a Toronto-based company. It's his company. He has a PhD in nutrient biochemistry. And when I was looking for somebody that I thought I could learn something about nutrition from, I got tired of all the government people who took a couple university courses and called themselves nutritionists, and following things like the old Canada Food Guide, which we used to have, which was put out by government. I see some of you shaking your head, so you had the same thoughts about that I did. John's come up with a couple very simple methodologies for approaching people. And as soon as he started talking about this, it connected with what I had been doing, traveling as a business turnaround coach and consultant. we found that it was always easier to get business owners to do what we wanted them to do if we could break it into smaller chunks, and if we could give them or show them the single biggest roadblock in front of them, stopping them from doing what they wanted to do or making as much money as they wanted to do. What was the single biggest roadblock? And John has come up with nutrient deficiencies, and he says, in terms of teaching people nutrition, we need to get them to make sure that they at least have the right amounts of nutrients. Now, it doesn't matter, all the nutrients that we have to have, vitamins, minerals. And he said that we have 4 things. And he's had like, I think 250,000 students go through his business in the last 7 years. And the common ones are that we don't drink enough water. Well, where have you heard that before? We've heard that most of our lives. We don't get enough protein. We don't get enough vitamins and minerals. And we don't get enough essential fats. So the first step is to make sure that we're eliminating nutrient deficiencies and helping people to do that. The second part is how much should we eat? Well, you notice I stroked out the word calories here because counting calories is really difficult to do, and it's very inaccurate on both the calorie intake and the calorie burn side. So instead of doing that, John's come up with an approach that I took quite a liking to, because we're going to measure 4 things. Now, I know I'm holding up 5 fingers, but we're only going to measure 4 things. So what I'm showing you is the tool. This is the measuring tool. We're not going to talk about counting calories. We're not going to talk about getting a database that tells you how many calories are in an apple and a banana and an ounce of cheddar cheese, and have you go through that and get a food scale. So you have to weigh your food. That's too much math to do lunch. I don't want to do that. So we look at 4 tools. So the way we measure the quantity of food that we should be eating to make sure we get all the nutrient deficiencies met is men should measure their protein by the size of their palm. Just the size of your palm, thickness and the area. Now, I usually take my hands with me when I go out for lunch or dinner, so it's pretty easy. I got my tools right with me. I can look at that. Vegetables, the size of your fist. Well, that's pretty easy to look as well. So picture a plate in front of you. There's your protein. There's your vegetables. Your carbs is just 1 cupped hand. So imagine a handful of berries. And oils, 1 thumb. Now, at the end of the day, at the bottom of this, it says reality check and adjustment. That's a starting point. Then we have to make an adjustment and follow a very scientific method of deciding or measuring whether it's working. And that formula is simply, how's that working out for you? So if we set a goal for nutrition and exercise, and we start the nutrition side of it by following something like this, and we say we either want to gain some weight, we want to lose some weight, we can follow that goal, but somewhere along the line we have to do a reality check and say, how's that working out for us? Do I need to add more protein? Maybe 1.5 portions, maybe 2 portions. Maybe I want to cut carbs and I don't want to eat as much. Maybe I need more vegetables. So we have that sort of system. It makes nutrition much, much easier to deal with. I don't know about you, but how many people here like peanut butter? Well, I got to raise both hands to that too. But you know what I have a real problem with? I love peanut butter on toast, but the serving size is supposed to be a tablespoon. And it says there's 80 calories in a tablespoon. I do not know how in the hell anybody can spread a tablespoon of peanut butter all over a piece of toast. It just doesn't work for me. I just get a little bit of it covered. So we need to have a better method of measuring, and most of us are not very good at estimating how much food we're eating, or how much we ate, or remembering even all the things that we ate. We remember the good things. We don't remember the junk food that we pack away, and that causes a bit of a problem. So what holds you back? Here's a common list of what people say are the reasons for not exercising. Most people recognize they have to do something with nutrition. We'd all like to do a little bit better. Well, they say they don't have time. I just don't wanna. I'm too tired. We've kind of touched on that a little bit. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I don't like doing it, and I can't afford to do it. Or I can't afford to do it either. So do these apply to nutrition or exercise? Both. Again, both. How many of you watch television? Everybody watches television. Do you know what the average is in Canada?
Over 5.
Sorry?
Over 5 hours.
Over 5 hours. Yeah, if you're 24 to 55, it's 25 hours. If you're over 55, it's 32 hours. 32 and a bit. 32 hours? Again? Per day. I'm sorry. Per week. Per week. Yeah, that's a long time. So if you think about that, again, if we're not good at estimating the amount or the quantities of various foods that we eat, we're not very good at remembering how much television we watched. Because most people give the wrong answer when they say how much they watched. We remember one or two things only. We don't remember all of the time that we sit there just being mindless. There are 15 to 17, sometimes 18 minutes in commercials in the average television hour. So in response to the first one, I don't have time to do it. If you're active now, then this may or may not help you. But if you're not active, doing anything is better than doing nothing. So if all you did was say to yourself, 2 of the hours each day that I'm watching television, I'm going to exercise during the commercials. 15 minutes, roughly 15 minutes an hour. That's 30 minutes, right? A day. You're going to start making some change. You're going to start feeling more energetic. You'll feel a bit better, and you might start working out more than that. Well, I'm not saying that's going to apply to each and every person, because it doesn't. Nutrition and exercise is very unique. What works for one person in the area of nutrition doesn't necessarily work for another. We've had all kinds of scientific analysis done over the years that tell us what we should eat, when we should eat it. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I was just reading a study today that said that breakfast isn't the most important meal of the day. It depends on the individual. Some of you might like it. I rarely eat breakfast. It's different for everybody. So we're unique human beings. The same thing applies to exercises. Some of us will like doing certain types of exercises, and I find constantly when I work with people doing this, I can show them my favorite routine and they hate half of it. But they pick a couple things that they really like to do, and that's what they work at. So we have to continue doing that. I want to talk a little bit about pushing back your aging curve in an area that I think is pretty important for most of us, and that's balance. How many of you know somebody that's had a bad fall? Has it happened to any of you? And when we fall, what do we hurt? What do we break normally? Wrists, hips, those are the most common things. And I was also reading not too long ago that if we break a hip and we go into the hospital for a hip replacement, most people don't go home after that. They go to a nursing home. Well, to me, nursing home is the bottom of that aging curve on the right-hand side. I don't want to even think nursing home, so I don't want to do that. So balance is simply the ability to maintain your center of mass. If I just stand over here for a minute, can you still hear me okay back there? Yeah. It's maintaining our center of mass over a stable base. Well, the base is our feet. So I want to give you an example. But if I ask you to do something and you don't want to do it, if you have a sore foot or knee and you can't stand up, please do not try it, okay? Everybody stand. Behind your chair. I want to give you an example. I want all of you to have your feet a little bit wider than your shoulders, firmly planted on the floor. Now just look down at your feet. Stare at your feet and think about what's happening to the muscles in your feet, ankles, and lower legs. I'm going to give you 5 or 6 seconds to do that. Just look at your feet and think about what's happening to the muscles in your feet. Okay, what's happening? Nothing, right? Hardly anything's happening. You're just standing there, but there's nothing going on. Now, if we change our base, which is our feet, and the reason I want you to use the chair is if you need this, just touch it for balance, okay? I don't want anybody falling. So what I want you to do is, I'm opposite directions, I want you to lean to the left so your weight's on your left foot and on the right toe. Now we're going to pick the right foot up and put it to the left ankle, but touch the chair if you need it for balance. Don't grab it, just touch it. Now when your foot's at the right ankle, what's going on in that lower left leg? Anybody? What's happening? It's working hard? Yeah, all those little muscles are twitching. That's part of your somatic nervous system. You see, our brain gets information from 3 different sources about balance. One is our eyes, vision. We need to see what's going on. We can see where the horizon is. Number 2 is our inner ear. You get turned sideways, upside down, it's not comfortable. 3 is the somatic nervous system. It's all over our body, but we're concentrating on the feet and lower legs right now because I want you to see the impact, because those are muscles. Do that again. And then try it on the other foot. And you'll probably find one leg has better balance than the other. My right leg is much better than the left. The left is I'm all over the place. Now, how many of you have exercised those muscles? A few. Those are muscles that we don't usually think about. Now, if you're normally active and you're out and doing all kinds of things, you'll be working those muscles. So, I'm going to give you a couple exercises for those in just a minute. So, we need, in order to prevent falls and keep strong balance, we need agility and strength. We need strength because if I'm walking and I trip on something and I stumble, I have to have enough agility in my leg, enough speed to get it out there to catch myself. Sound logical? But when I get there, if I don't have the strength to hold myself up, I'm going to catch myself with my face. Not appealing. I don't want to do that. So we need agility and strength. So we have to do some things to work on agility and strength in our feet and lower legs. So push your chair under the table in front of you and just step back so we've got a little bit of room. All I want you to do is touch the chair again for balance if you need, and we're just going to do half squats. Just go halfway down. You can go all the way if you like, if you can do that. Spread your feet a little wider apart. Your feet are really close, sir. Move them like shoulder width apart. It's a little easier to squat. Touch the chair. Just go up and down. 3 or 4 more times. What we're exercising are the upper part of the legs primarily. We're also working the ankles, but we're working the upper part primarily. So a half squat. Now a triangle step. This is very simple, but you can do this almost anywhere. I don't know if you can see my feet. All I'm going to do is step forward and out on a 45-degree angle to the left, then over to the right, and back to my starting point. I'll face away so you can copy me. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now reverse the direction and do it 5 or 6 times. Now remember the concept of mindfulness. Think about the muscles in your feet that you're working on as you do this. Picture doing this in front of your TV during a commercial in your backyard. And all we're doing is you get going faster. You can almost run in place doing this, and you're working all those muscles in your lower legs and in your feet that are going to be able to get your foot out there to catch. And if we do more squats, we build our legs so that we're not going to fall. Pretty simple exercise. It's amazing the tricks your mind plays on you, though, if you're not, until you get used to it. So you want to do this over and over, almost every day. But it's pretty simple. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. And keep going. Take wider steps if you want. And just get running. Your feet and your legs will show a tremendous amount of strength increase in a very short time frame. And it will help you prevent falling. So half squat, triangle, step, crossover walk. I'll do this up here again. All I'm going to do is cross one foot in front of the other, and then I'm going to cross it behind. So I'd like you to do this going this way. So cross in front, then behind. Cross in front, then behind. Everybody go the same direction at the same time. Okay, let's go that way. Cross in front, then behind. Now again, if you do that until you're comfortable with it and then start going faster, so you can go, I'll turn back this way now. So we can go quite fast and you build up your strength in your feet and agility. Now you're getting some real agility with this particular move, the crossover walk. That's one of the best ones you can do for your feet because you're on your toes, you're doing all kinds of things. Now I probably have to sit for a minute to show you this one. How many of you exercise your feet on a regular basis? Deliberately, not just because you're walking. Most people don't. Okay, but some of you are. So here's one we can do sitting down. I'm just going to show you for a minute, and then I'll get you to sit and try it. Our foot moves in several different directions. So all I'm going to do is point my toe away and push hard, pointing it away. Then pull it back towards me and push hard. So away and back. Now I'm going to take the bottom of my foot, the outside edge, and turn it away from myself. So push it out. And then I'm going to pull it back. So out and back. Everybody got that? And then I'm going to do circles with my toe. Now if you push out hard on the toes, you'll find this is great for the foot muscles as well. So everybody sit down, turn your chair a little bit or pull it back so you can try those. If you have heavy leather shoes on, it's pretty difficult because the shoes don't bend at all. That is, the soles don't bend, so you can't push your toes. So you want to do this barefoot, if possible. Although you might not want to take your shoes off now.
Okay. No, boots on, it's okay. By the way, talking about that, if I may.
Yes.
Just for 1 second.
Yes.
Most people, as they get older, their ankles get very weak. And many times, people fall because their ankle is kind of slip when you walk. And so I find it's very important to strengthen muscles in your ankle.
Yes.
And which you do against resistance. So
Yes.
you have a band and you push against the band.
Oh, absolutely.
Etc. And I do that for everyone.
Do you? Awesome. That's great to hear. I wish everybody would do that. So the ankle part you get with the twisting of the foot both ways and the toe in and out. All of that works on the ankle and other muscles in the foot. So we got to keep doing that. Okay, now I also set up here, we need to have some strength and agility in our hands, arms, and shoulders. And why does that have anything to do with balance and fall protection? Why do you think that might be important? You got to catch yourself. So the same thing, if I trip and I don't have the strength in my leg and I fall, or I'm not quick enough and I fall, what am I going to catch myself with? Well, if I put my hands out and I have no strength there to catch myself in hands, arms, or shoulders, maybe I'm going to break a wrist or something else, or my face. Don't want to do that either. So here's a couple of routines. So everybody stand up again. Okay, this is a hand sequence. All I want you to do is put your hands up in front. Now, I want you to elongate your fingers, like stretch them out, like you're trying to make them 2 inches longer. Push hard, so you can feel it in your knuckles, and you should be shaking in a few seconds if you're pushing hard with that. And you don't necessarily have to hold them out here, hold them down anywhere you want, but push hard on your fingers, make them long. Can you feel that? Are your hands tight? Everybody? Okay, hold that for 5 more seconds. Getting to you? Okay, shake it out. Can you feel that in your hands? Now we're going to do a claw, which is simply all your fingers. You're going to close them part way, but not all the way. And you're going to imagine there's something in there that's really hard. You can't compress it anymore, but push, 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 and hold it. And you're going to hold that for 7 or 8 seconds. I don't see anybody shaking. Push hard. Can you feel that, everybody? Okay, shake it out. Now we're going to do a partial claw. We're going to, like rolling fingers to the outside. Okay, starting with the little finger, and just do a partial claw and hold that. Not a fist. Don't do this, don't do this. Just a partial claw and hold it. In martial arts, that's called a knife hand. That's what they use in karate movies to hit with that edge or the inside edge. So it's a partial claw, roll fingers out, and hold it really tight. Now, let it go, shake them out a bit. Now we're going to do the rolling fingers, but we're going to go with the forefinger and roll it in. The other way. Push hard on that. That should be really tight. Now, if you hold each of these moves for 5 or 6 or 7 seconds and you're just getting started with it, you will really feel it. Okay, so what do? Elongate, claw, rolling, inner, outer. Now we're going to do one more. Push fingers together and bring them down in front of you. You don't have to go too far. Now you should be feeling a real stretch in your forearms if you push down. So we're getting the fingers and push down, elbows out. You're working the fingers again, more flexibility in the fingers and the strength in the forearms. So the claw, shake that out for a minute. What good's the claw? What's that going to help you do? I said it's for martial arts, but you're not going to go home and get in a fight, right? So what's it help you do? If you strengthen your fingers like that, well, if you trip and fall and you have to catch something, you catch a door jamb or a car door or a fence or even the edge of a table, if your hands are so weak you can't grab a hold of anything, you're catching yourself on your face again. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So everybody knows what a plank is, right? How many of you do a plank? I'm not going to necessarily have you do one here right now, but a plank is simply on your hands and feet. And you can use a wall if you don't want to go right to the floor. This you can do very easily. So just stand away from the wall and push yourself into it. And push away. You're not getting your full body weight, but you're using hands, arms, and shoulders. And you can do that quite a bit. I'm sure you got a wall like this at home somewhere. Go outside and do it on your fence. But it's a simple thing. And once you get to do that for quite a few minutes, or you can do quite a few, then you can do the plank on the floor, where you're holding your body weight. And I would suggest if you haven't done those before, you just start with an elbow plank on your elbows and hold your weight. Sit on the carpet at home and watch TV that way. Get up for a plank and try and hold it just 10 or 15 seconds to start with, because if you haven't done it for years, it's very difficult to do. I remember reading a book many, many years ago, I think back in the late 70s, by Dr. Leonard Moorhouse, who was, am I going to get crap for not being by the microphone? Okay. Maybe later. Doctor, you can sit for a moment, and I'll give you some more. Dr. Leonard Moorhouse was the director of the Human Performance Lab at UCLA. And he wrote a lot of the astronaut training programs. And one of the books he wrote was about how long it takes muscles to atrophy. You've heard the expression, if you don't use it, you lose it. Well, one of the things that I still remember, I'm sure I might have changed it a little bit over the years in my memory, but he said that if you rated yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of your fitness level, so whatever your fitness level is today, you're a 10, and you don't do anything for 30 days, he said you're going to decline to a 2. So 80% of your fitness in 30 days. Well, okay, that didn't strike me as such a big deal. I thought it was a lot. But then he said, now, if you do the same thing for another 30 days, your 2 then becomes a 10 to start the second 30 days. And guess what it happens to end up at again? A 2 again. So now we've lost 80% of the 20 that we started with. So picture people who haven't done anything for 20 years. Is it any wonder that as we age, we gain weight and we think it's part of aging? We lose our strength and we think it's part of aging? We've ignored our bodies. I don't know about you, but it's the only one I got. I kind of like to keep it for a while. So that's part of my whole approach, my philosophy of pushing up against that aging curve and working at doing it. And we can't just pick a couple of muscles and say we're going to work on that. And we don't have to go to a gym to do this. We can do this at home. I'm going to give you a couple more exercises here to try, and then I'm going to give you a printed copy of this. And a couple questions, things I forgot here. Bottom left, right-hand corner. What kind of equipment do you need to do in order to do the exercise I've showed you so far? Well, you got to have a chair. Well, maybe. Maybe not. You could do it on a fence, couldn't you? You could do it on your kitchen counter. Back of a couch. You could do it almost anywhere. What sort of limits are there in terms of where you can do it? Totally on your own. You can do this at home. You can do it in your bedroom. How many of you think you have weight to lose? Not very many, just a couple. My wife laughs at me all the time when I talk about trying to lose some weight. I have what I call a jiggle test. And first time I did it, I think she just about peed herself. You have to go to the bathroom, you take your clothes off, stand in front of a mirror, do a full body clench, so every muscle in your body is tight, and then you shake. And whatever moves you don't need. So she keeps questioning me every once in a while. You haven't seen you do a jiggle test for a little while. So most of the exercises, almost all of the exercises that I've shown and that I will show you tonight are meant for you to do anywhere you want. You don't need to go to a gym. You don't need to pay a trainer to do it. You can do this on your own. Very inexpensive. So this is an early morning stretch routine that I like to follow. And remember the concept of being mindful. Be present in the moment. I'm going to show you each of these. We're going to do 11 of the 12. We're not going to do number 12 because we already did that. Our foot sequence. Okay? Anybody hurting anywhere? Anybody doesn't want to admit it? Oh. Yes, sir?
You can add one to that. It's actually called the bridge.
Oh, yes, bridge.
You can add that to it.
Are you going to show us how to do bridge?
The bridge, you know,
Yeah.
when you form a bridge.
Are you going to show us how? Are
I
you
do it every morning.
good? We'll add that in place of this one.
I do it 3 times, 3 sets.
Are you talking about your leg on your back, your feet are flat on the floor, and you bridge up?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I like that too. There's so many. There are probably, I think on my website, I must have 350 different exercises. There are way too many. You simply can't do them all. But what people do is they end up picking favorites or things that they like to do. And this is kind of like food. You know, if you had to eat the same meal every day of the month, you'd soon get bored of it. They might be incredible meals, but you soon get bored of it. So exercise is just the same. You need to add different things. And the reason you need to add different things is your muscles get used to what you're putting them through. And then they adapt. So once your muscles adapt, you increase a little bit of flexibility, some agility, some strength, but you keep doing the same things. It becomes easier for your body to do them. So there's no longer any improvement. So that's why you need some variety. It keeps it interesting as well because you'll get bored. Okay. All those that are interested, please stand up. So this is early morning, right? We just got out of bed. So nothing's working very well. We got to get started. So both arms up. And all we're going to do is stretch one a little higher than the other. Oh, keep both up and then alternate. Now, as you feel a muscle, tell me where you're feeling it. In the back? You're feeling it on the side? See, it's different for all of us. Some will feel it in the lower back. Just do 3 or 4 times. Okay, shake it out. A shoulder roll. You can put your hands on your hips if you want, or just on your side. Just roll your shoulders. Go down and back and up and over. Do this about 5 times, and then we're going to go the other direction. Where do you feel it? Neck? Okay, now go the other direction. Just roll them around. Okay, now we're going to do a neck sequence. This has several moves to it. So first thing in the morning, all we're going to do is look way up, straight up. As far as you can. Hold it for a count of 5, 6 seconds. And then look way down. Let's do that one more time. Way up and way down. Shake it out. Now, we're going to try and touch our ear to our shoulder. So just sideways. Don't lift your shoulder. Just try and get your ear over it. You probably can't touch your shoulder. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody that could. And go the other way. Where do you feel it? Neck? Anybody feel it in the back? Yeah? You get all kinds of muscles with this. Okay. Shake it out. Now, all we're going to do is try and turn our nose over that same shoulder now. So sideways. And all the other way. One more time back to the right. Okay? Loosen your shoulders up. Now we're going to do a chest press. And I want you to think about where you feel this one too. So hands out in front like so. Now all you're going to do is draw them back so your arms make a W. Now try and get your elbows behind your shoulders and push back. And just hold that for 15 seconds. And tell me where you feel it, as you feel it. Back? You feel it in front? Okay. Side, on the tops of the shoulders? Lots of different muscles happening. It depends on the individual. Here's a little variation on this one too. It's great. It's just, I call it a wall slide. Imagine you're standing against a wall behind you. And just raise your arms up and down. Go one at a time. All the way up and keep it back. And I'll do both arms at once. As if you're standing on a wall. It's great for the back, upper back, and mid back, and your shoulders. Okay, arm circles. How's that? Everybody doing okay? Okay, arms straight out to the side. We're just going to go in small circles with your arms, going one direction. Yeah, don't hit somebody beside you. And gradually make them bigger until you're making as big a circle as you can. Is there somebody groaning? Okay, now smaller Make the circle smaller until you're back to where you started. And then we're going to go the other direction. Okay, we're little circles. Now go the other direction. Feels good? Or is that pain I hear? Okay, if it's hurting you, don't do it. If you have a shoulder issue, okay, and smaller again, back to the middle. Okay, a torso twist. This is our torso. So all we're going to do is twist it one side to the other, but I want you to clasp your hands in front like this. Now keep your arms straight, your elbows straight, and turn to the left. Your feet shouldn't leave the ground. Keep back to the starting point. Now you're turning your torso from here, right? Your feet don't turn on the ground. You got to twist that torso. And if you're having trouble, if you can't get all the way 90 degrees, you can probably feel it in your lower back. So just go a little ways. If you can't go all the way, just go 40 degrees, 45 degrees. If you hold that for 10 or 15 seconds, if you're having a hard time going one direction, go back to that side and don't go all the way, just part of the way, and hold it where it starts to hurt and stay there. You'll find that muscle relaxing, and then you'll be able to go a little further. But you never want to stretch to the point that it hurts for a long time. Okay? Torso twist. Spinal flexion. Well, all we're going to do is bend our spine, frontwards and backwards. So, hands on your hips. Now, thrust your pelvis forward and curve yourself this way. Shoulders forward, pelvis forward. So, and then go the opposite way. Stick your butt out and your shoulders back. Hold it. Now do it again. Where do you feel it? Lower back still? Back. Some people lower, mid, some upper. Okay, a hip hinge. Most of us don't exercise our hips, and we have some very small muscles in the middle of our body that work our hips or that help us work our hips, and we need to work those as well. So a hip hinge is a good way to do some of that. And there's also some other seated stretches. But all we're going to do is bend over so your back becomes flat. Don't bend your legs. Just bend from your hips as far as you can until your back's flat. Stand up and do that 4 times. Remember, try and keep your legs straight. Your knees should not bend. But if you have to bend them a little bit to start with, that's okay. Just bend from the hips. Okay. Now, if you're back from the chair a little bit, this is a squat press. This is for building some strength, and it's good for the entire body. This is called stacking exercises. Anybody know what stacking means? We do more than one exercise at the same time. Most weightlifting exercises or bodybuilding exercises that you've seen in gyms over the years and that you see in all the movies come from weightlifters. And all they want to do is isolate one muscle and build it bigger. I'm not interested in doing that. I don't think most of us are these days. We just want to make our lives a little bit better. So the shorter, and by the way, I don't want to work out for 2 hours a day. I want to get the result, but do it as fast as I can. So if I can add one exercise on top of another and do 2 or 3 at the same time, my workout gets a lot shorter. So this is a squat press. So imagine you have some light weights. I don't care what you have. It could be 3 pounds, 5 pounds, doesn't matter. Now we're going to do a curl, but as we do it, we're squatting. You don't have to go all the way down. Just go as far as you can. Now stand up. Now when you get up, you push the weights overhead. Back to the starting point. Do it again. Squat as you do the curl. All the way up and press up. And once more to the starting point. All the way down. Up and press up. Now, how many muscles are you using when you do that? Lots of muscles. That's the whole point. We want to use as many as we possibly can. Lower back stretch with chair. This is probably one of my favorites. So, using your chair, make sure you got room, and all we're going to do is, remember the hip hinge, we're going to be in the same kind of position, hands on the chair, and just back your feet away without bending your legs until your back's flat. Now once I'm here, I'm going to bend my left knee If I bend to my left knee now and push back on the right hip, you'll really feel that in your upper buttock and lower back. Yes? Hold that there. Now, straighten your knee, bend the other knee. Do the same on the other side. Push back on the left leg. Okay, one more time on the other side. Okay. If you have back issues, that's one of the best stretches you'll ever see, because it stretches the lower back and it stretches the upper part of the buttocks. Everybody good with that? I think I'm losing my connection here. Okay. Number 11, a short step leg stretch. So we're going to just, you're not going to move too much on this one, but we're going to step out, a good long step. And now all we're going to do, don't make it too long, because now I want you to sit back on the back leg, keep the front leg straight. Don't bend the knee. So we're sitting back here. Both heels are flat on the floor. Now if you're doing that, you should feel pressure in your upper left quadricep on the thigh. Your calf on both legs will be tight. You don't have to touch them to prove they're tight. You can probably feel it, right? Okay, now if we're sitting here, now without moving your feet, I just want you to move forward and put your weight over the front leg, keeping the back heel flat on the floor. Stand up. No, I mean just up straight. Keep the legs where they were. Now, where do you feel that? Okay, just the opposite now. So you can work both legs this way, and this is a great stretch for both of them. Then go forward. Now we're going to step with the other leg. I'll do the same thing. Sit back. I'm going to go forward. Both feet, heels, drive the back heel into the floor. You have to push hard on it to do that. Okay? You want to come and show us your bridge?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry? Downward dog, no.
Downward dog, yeah, down on the floor.
This is a great stretch. Do it on the carpet, then you probably won't get dirty.
It's all right.
This is great for core strength, the core being the whole midsection of your body.
I've got another shoes on, so. Otherwise I can't do it.
This works your buttocks, your abs, your obliques on the side, and the lower back, and the neck.
And you count for 30 seconds, and you do 3 sets.
3 sets of 30 seconds. That's a good exercise. Thanks.
No. I'll show you another one I do with the Sweden if we are back.
Sure.
So let's see if you can show everybody can see me doing it. So take this one around.
Yeah, keep your shoulders flat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And do that 30 seconds.
yeah.
And I do that 3 sets as well.
Good, great. That's called a crossover leg drop, because you're crossing one leg over and then you let it drop slowly to the floor. And if all you can do is get it up the first time and you hold it there and you can't move it all the way over, you'll gradually get, within probably a few weeks, you'll get it to go almost to the floor. And you just hold it. Stretching is awesome. Thank you.
That's one more I do.
Uh-oh, we got a monster here now.
I do this one here because it's easy to do. So do this one, put your leg over here,
Yeah,
and pull this one down, and you can really feel it in your hip.
Yeah.
Big time. Do both sides.
that's a great one if you have a sciatic nerve issue. It's called an eye of the needle, just because of the way you're putting your hands through your legs. And you'll feel it really great, and you can change the pressure of that a lot by just rolling your hips a little bit one way or the other. And I'll show you where there's a video of doing all that.
I actually do those exercises 20 minutes every morning first thing.
Really?
Because
Good.
I have to slow back.
Yeah.
And after I do that, it's fine.
I can imagine. That's good. I didn't pay him to say this. Yes?
If you have had a hip replacement, you might want to be really careful with some of those.
Yes.
Or adjustment. You know,
Yes. Do you want to explain why?
Yeah, because you don't want your artificial bionic one from hip to pop up.
That's pretty painful and pretty expensive.
Yeah.
I have
And you're certainly going
I have a friend that I used to work with. He lives in Los Angeles and he had both hips done at the same time. He's really limited with, you know, what he can do. So, thanks for that. So, what sort of, oh, yes?
The last 2 months, I've had 2 sciatic nerves attacks, extremely painful. But what I discovered was that the sciatic nerve passes through a muscle as it's heading down, and it's the muscle that controls the pulling back of the leg, and that proved
This
to be
motion?
in this way.
Oh, like sideways?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sideways. And that proved to be ultimately incredibly painful. And it took me 2 months to recover from that. Any suggestion on an exercise?
I can identify with that because the first time, I've had 3 sciatic nerve episodes. The first one, I was traveling in the States. I had to get a wheelchair to get me through the airport in Los Angeles because it got so bad I couldn't hardly walk. When I got home that time, I laid on my living room floor, honest to God, for a month. I knew all the TV shows, I knew all the soaps, but I couldn't do anything else because it was so painful. And I went to the back center here and I got some exercises to do and I just kept looking and looking. And I came up with about 14 different exercises that are aimed at relieving sciatic pain. Now, you can't do them all, and what works for me might not work for you, and you have to sort of go through them and say, oh, I like that one and that one. Those feel good. And you pick those and that's what you do. And I can show you a bunch of them.
So I think what happened is that the nerve passed through this particular muscle.
Yeah.
And ultimately, this episode damaged the muscle that pulls my leg laterally in. And that was the lasting pain that I had for pain.
I can tell you all about it because I had that 4 years ago. I was in a wheelchair problem. Oh my goodness. That's why I learned those different exercises I do now.
It's very common. Sciatic problems are very common. You know, rotator cuff, very common, same thing. I had that for quite a while. I haven't had them for a long time because I have a pretty set routine of preventative exercises that have helped me. So, what sort of equipment do we need to do these exercises? A chair maybe. Other than that, we really don't need much. Where can we do them? Anywhere you want. So it's not like we need a bunch of heavy weightlifting equipment. Although I do like weightlifting equipment. I have a bunch, but you don't have to have it. Okay. Here's what Boomer's Online Fitness does. We have basic functional activities in the top left box. Things like balance and fall prevention, getting on the floor and getting up again. It's amazing how many people can't get up off the floor once they're there. Reach the top shelf in the cupboards at the grocery store. I keep talking to my wife about that one because she's so short she'll never get it anyway. She just can't reach up that far. But we want to be able to pick up our grandkids and play with them. And I've heard people and I've read some things where professional trainers are telling people that they never have to do curls. Well, you know what a curl is? It's just doing this exercise with weight. No, you need resistance for the muscle to adapt. And I think, well, they don't do them. I do them all the time. Every time I pick up one of my grandkids, I'm doing this. Every time I pick up bags of groceries out of the back seat of my car, I'm doing this. And you probably are doing the same things. So we have to work all of our muscles in order to keep doing or living the way we want to live. We have lots of body weight exercises, as you've seen. There's all kinds of things you can do. All you need for equipment is a couple of things that I'll show you. You've probably seen some examples of this stuff. But for those of you that haven't, I want to talk about it briefly. Everybody's seen these, right? Yep. These take the place of weights. You can do almost any exercise with these, and they come in different colors for different tensile strengths. These, I like even better. They come in, there's a set of 5, and I think I paid like $6 or something for them. And they're different tensile strengths as well. So you can do them for doing, if you want to do resistance, you want to do curls, or you want to do tricep stretches, it's the same thing, or tricep exercises, and you just go a little shorter to get a little strength, or double it up even more, or get a stronger one. One of the things I really think people have to have if they're going to start exercising and you haven't been doing it before is, I wear a Fitbit because my granddaughter bought it for me. Before that, I was wearing a heart monitor. Now it has a watch band and it just reads your heart. So you just wear it under your breast here and you moisten it so it gets the electrical connection and it sends a signal to the watch. So it tells you what your heart rate is as you're working. Why do we want to know what our heart rate is? Well, if the point is to know how hard you're working out, how do we do that? Well, it's hurting. I'm sweating. I must be working out. Well, what are we trying to accomplish? And I know that you've heard of a target heart rate, right? Everybody's heard of that. Everybody's heard of the Borg scale? Not everybody? A Borg scale is a measurement system that Dr. Borg came up with quite a while ago. And he had it measuring from 6 to 20. 6 is when you sort of were laying on the couch. You didn't have to do anything. 20 was working out where you're almost going to kill yourself. A lot of people have simplified it and said, well, I don't need all that. I'm going to make it 1 to 10. So 1 is laying on the couch watching TV. 10 is extreme exertion where you can only keep it up for a very short time frame, like a wind sprint, a 100-yard dash runner, that sort of thing. In between is a whole range of activities, and it's an activity intensity awareness scale for you. Yours doesn't apply to anybody else in the world. This is yours. I've heard people say, professional athletes will work out at a 10. No, they won't, because they can't stay there very long. They might try it for a little bit of time, but they can't stay there. You might be doing some of the exercises we're doing tonight, and as this gentleman, what was your name, by the way, sir? Tor. As Tor said, I do it for 30 seconds. Well, you might be at a 10 doing it for 30 seconds the first time. So you can't just start at that level, or you'll have bad circumstances happen to you. So you might start at a 2 or 3, and you're gradually going to work it up until you get stronger and more fit and are able to catch yourself, stop yourself from falling. But body weight exercises are the key to almost all of these. We don't need to buy a bunch of equipment. And we go all the way up to high-level activities. High-level activities are very intensive. Burpees, mountain climbers, bear crawls. If you haven't heard them, or if you watch any of these professional shows that are on where people are elite athletes, they do all kinds of things like this. Very intense work. We have an exercise library and a workout library. An exercise library is just a list of exercises with a short video showing you how to do it. Kind of like watching me doing some of this stuff, only 400 times for all of it. The workout library is just where I pick a bunch of them and make a workout, and then put it in the workout library, and you can print it. And I have a sample of all the ones we did tonight that you're welcome to take. I'll just put them out here when we're done. And you can take that. You can also look on my website. We've got several other exercise routines that you can look at. We do aerobics, a bunch of fitness tools in terms of how do we use a Borg scale? How do we equate that with our target heart rate? Like if my doctor says I should be exercising at 70% of my target heart rate, well, what does that mean? How do I know what 70% is? And once I do that, if I can look at my target heart rate and say, okay, I'm exercising at 80 beats a minute, and that's where I'm supposed to be, for example, how do I feel at that level? Well, if I feel like I'm really busting my butt, maybe I'm at an 8 or a 9. How does that equate? And after a while, you get used to how you are or how you feel at various levels. So you can say at 70, okay, at 70 I feel like this, at 80 I feel like that, and if you stay at that level for a long, long time, you'll probably start to want some changes. So we get fitter and fitter. A good way to illustrate this is blowing up balloons. I had a brother-in-law of mine at my place a couple months ago, and we were blowing up some balloons to throw in a swimming pool. And he doesn't exercise at all. And they weren't big balloons, about this size, and we had about 30 of them to blow up. And then a couple of air mattresses. Well, he got through like 4 balloons and he was pooped. He was just sitting there breathing really hard because his aerobic capacity was terrible. So he couldn't blow them up. So he said, I got to start doing something. This is a good illustration to me, he said. So he started working out. So we do aerobics, strength, flexibility, balance and fall prevention, exercising with pain. Different kinds of pain have you seen. And as I finish up my agreement with John Berardi, we're going to have some nutrition coaching. In the middle on the right-hand side, it's do-it-yourself, if you want, or you can use me as your online personal trainer. We have a blog with articles on getting older. I'm writing a series of what's it like for me? How do I feel as I get older? What am I going through? And I want other people like to share that sort of thing. I have a yoga instructor down south that's going to join me in a couple months. All you need is internet access to use that. So the proof that it works. I told you at the beginning I was going to tell you 2 incidents that happened to me in the last 2 years that prove that this stuff works, that it does keep you healthier. 2 years ago, I tore the tendon that attaches the bicep. You have 2 tendons at the top of the bicep that attach it. One to the inside, this one goes on the outside, it's called the long head. You have 2 at the bottom. I was doing some curls and I tore the top one. And I'd never torn a muscle before. I mean severely, little tiny things, but nothing like this. And all I felt was this bubbling in my arm. And it just went black. And I thought, oh crap, I really pulled that. So I just went on about today. And 2 weeks later, the coloring was going away, but it didn't look like I thought it should look. So I went to see Dr. Jason Dick. He's a sports therapist here in town. And he sent me for an ultrasound. Well, I went for an ultrasound and they sent it back to Jay and he called me and said, get your butt to emergency. And I'm, come on, it's my arm. So I got to emergency and I got to tell you, I felt like a celebrity because I walked in there and I thought, you know, when I'm walking in the door, here goes 5 hours waiting in the emergency ward. Well, as soon as I introduced myself, oh, Dr. So-and-so came over and they just took me right in. I didn't even have to sit down. I thought, this is pretty cool. I'm famous. He walked me into the back to a room and there were 4 other doctors come up like they were running to get there. And I thought, to see me? And it wasn't me, unfortunately. This was such a unique injury. They don't see them all that often. And all these emergency doctors wanted to see this injury. And they were surprised. They looked at my chart and they kept saying, they were talking amongst each other, and one of them came over and said, you're not really 69, are you? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, can you do this? And I said, yeah. He said, can you do this? And I said, yeah. And he said, can you go like this? I said, yeah. And he said, you shouldn't be able to do any of those with that injury. And I said, well, I can. He said, so here's our solutions. We can operate and reattach it. But you'll probably end up with a very severe frozen shoulder, which where a muscle just doesn't want to move, and it's very painful and takes a long time to get over. And he said, we don't really want to do that because of your age. Well, that really annoyed me, because I hate it when people don't do it because of your age. What's wrong with my age? Nothing. So ended up, I walked out of there. They never did reattach it. And I'm back to curling the same weights and doing the same weights I was before. The point being, the rest of the muscle structure in my arm compensated for it. So my being fit is what got me through that so quick and so easy. The second incident was last September. I had open heart surgery. I had a very bad cough. And the cough was because I had a leaky mitral valve in my heart. And my surgeon told me that if I hadn't come in, if I had probably waited even another week, the next time I came in, I probably would have been coughing up blood. So it's a lot more serious than I thought. So in any case, they gave me one of these. Who knows what this is? It's a heart pillow. TELUS donates these. So when I was in Foothills, they gave me one of these, and it becomes your best friend, I got to tell you. Because they don't want you, when you're cut open like this, your sternum takes quite a while to heal, as you can understand. And if you're going to cough, there's nothing worse. So they give you this to put pressure on. It's like if you get stomach surgery, they used to give you a big pillow and you'd hold it. So the coughing was scary enough, but I got to tell you, boy, the thought of a sneeze just terrified us, because there were other people in there going through the same, just like you as a group, you know, you're all going through the same things. So this is my heart pillow. I'll have this forever. And you see all us guys, we think we're big tough guys. We're walking around the hospital with our heart pillow. Pretty comical scene, but so it does work. And I'm kind of proof of that, or at least part of it is. Some of it might be luck. So here's some takeaways that I want for tonight, that I want you to be able to take away. Number one, we are going to get older, but we don't have to get old. Number two, you can take some control over your life. This is something you can do. Exercising and nutrition is something you can do. You don't need somebody else to tell you how to do it. You just need somebody to point the way a little bit and do some things. Nutrition and exercise are priceless, but they don't have to be expensive. Number four, a lifetime membership in Boomer's Online Fitness Club is $79.95 US. And of that, I will donate 15% of every membership that comes from anything to do with prostate to Prostate Calgary. Here's what you'll see on my website if you go there. So with that, I just want to leave you with 2 questions. Number one, what does your aging curve look like? And what are you doing about it? Thank you.